Greetings. Some late night ink. Doing some lettering. See how that turns out. Just a little bit of lettering. I'm using a nib that I farmed out of my father's old art supplies when he was in college. It's a good nib, but I don't use it because I've not been able to find a replacement. I did diligently go through, well, I don't know how diligent I was, but I did go looking online and I didn't find very many matches. Plenty of vintage drawing and calligraphy pens. Nothing of what I was looking for. Doing some computer graphics. There's no irony here that I'm using antiquated method to create computer graphics. Then I'm not using a computer to create computer graphics, as opposed to using a computer to create non-computer graphics. It's fun. The nib works quite well. I'll get into the details in a little bit. Probably not this video. I like to try to keep these short and sweet. Maybe one day I'll get into doing some live streams where I can dither with longer content. But for the time being, we're just going to go with these short little bits. So let's see if I can arrange the camera to autofocus. See where we get to. There we go. So this is the nib I'm looking at, what I've been using. It's kind of an antiquated little bit. There you go. I usually don't have the camera on autofocus. It's too diligent in focusing on the old claw here rather than what I'm working on. So the drawing gum is a latex-based fluid. You think of it as sort of a liquid masking tape. And you say you want white lettering, and you would place the liquid mask with a nib or a brush where you don't want the ink to make contact. And you draw in the lines, the graphics, whatever it is that you want. With the liquid mask, let it set, and then you ink over the liquid mask. It's all done, it's all set. The mask is set, and then you do the ink, and the ink is set, everything's dried. Then you very carefully wipe away the liquid mask. And it usually peels away quite well and easily. I mean, it depends on issues with the paper. Sometimes you can have an issue with the paper. I've had issues with the paper. And again, since it's a liquid masking tape, essentially, in concept, that sometimes it will behave just like masking tape and take up a bit of the paper, which is unfortunate. It does happen. And depending on how bad it is, it might actually be repairable. Sometimes it's not. And this is one of the reasons why you can use opaque white ink to fill in where the damage is. Because say something like that happens, you would just ink over that area and seal in the paper with ink, and then at a certain point go back over it with a white opaque ink. I can always make this go faster if I use a bigger brush. But I'm certain if I used AI, it would go a lot faster there too. I could do all this crap on an iPad so I can pretend to be an artist. Yeah, I know it's a bit mean. You just say that I'm getting meaner with every gray hair. Now, something here where we're getting close to where the hair's at, there's some options that I haven't taken into account. But if you wanted to, you could use some liquid mask with the nib and create some little phantom lines here where the hair is at to create the idea of a highlight from the backlight. So where her hair is at, you could have some modest backlighting on the hair and you would have this little halo effect. I'm just going to do that with a brush here. Oh yeah, so I haven't wrote in cursive probably in 40 years. I figured while I was here that I was going to try my hand at writing in cursive again. Looks pretty decent, I guess. Don't know if I brought this up. When I was young, really young, we were living out in Oregon. Little itty bitty little ranch house between Riddle and Canyonville, off in the boonies. And we were doing some remodeling. The house was eventually going to be put for sale, but the house was under remodel. And as the house was being worked on, my bedroom, which was closest to the living room, some of the walls were opened up. And I could see the TV. This is one of the rare occasions where the TV was working. Imagine that. Back in the day when you only had 3 channels, and all 3 channels went off the air, what, midnight? So there was no TV. And each station had a sign-off, a particular way that they signed off. Sometimes it was an American flag and some patriotic music or some other little thing that they had going on. But my eye was stuck on this scene of this little spaceship. I thought it was a spaceship. I mean, keep in mind, this is a memory that's almost 50 years old. Of a craft going over the surface of the moon. And I was enthralled with it. Because, again, being being from that time period, you had a bedtime. So you were expected to go to bed. And so I had an opportunity to see. I mean, I've seen hints of this spacecraft going over the surface of the moon, and I was so enthralled, but I always had to go to bed. I never understood or saw what exactly was going on there. And I visualized some space adventure, because I believe at the time Star Wars was a recent memory, because I remember seeing that at the drive-in theater. They had a drive-in theater just outside of Roseburg, Oregon. And that was where I first saw Star Wars. Camping out in the back of Dad's 1973 Subaru wagon. And as it turned out, it was just a little video. It indicated that the channel was going off the air. And I found that enormously disappointing. And it's probably one of those things that had inspired me to preoccupy myself with science fiction. Because the story that I wasn't getting from that, well, I was going to provide for myself. Anyway, there are some computer graphics. Catch you later.